my check, 1969. Again, if you don't have a mic, go ahead and drop it in for me.
Sorry about that. I only pushed the button once. My apologies for that.
No worries, man. Go ahead with your question there.
Jack, I didn't know that I had one. I could have thought of 100 of them for you, my friend, with all my listening of you, but I didn't know I even had one coming up. I didn't see me up there. Sorry about that. So pass me.
Okay, and we just did scrambling, so let's go ISRC. Okay, great question. Are there any metals that are worth buying and holding other than gold and silver? Zinc, brass, nickel. I prefer tangibles to cash or the market. You know, I would tell you if I was going to put anything away right now, I would probably put away copper. But the problem with zinc, brass, nickel, copper, all these things, is to put away enough of it to matter. It's really a lot of volume. The reason that people look to gold and silver as stores of wealth is that we can, you know, put away a lot of money in a small area. Nickels, here's the thing about nickels. A lot of people are, you know, looking at nickels now as like putting away nickels the way that we put away quarters and dimes and things back after 1964. The problem with nickels are loaded with copper. There's a huge copper slug inside that nickel alloy coating. But it takes a lot of energy to separate the two. Copper's going to have to go sky high, and the United States government is going to have to change and completely change the nickel to where they're not going to pass a law while the copper's sky high that's going to put you in jail for melting nickels down. Those two things happen at the same time the nickels pay off. That's a long play. I would say that you're probably better off putting Canadian nickels are 99 nickel. I didn't know that. That might be those might be worth putting away there than Captain Van Gold. But U.S. nickels, there's going to have to be a lot of things that happen before that pays us off. I think you're better off saving pre-82 pennies than nickels right now. Some guy, I think, actually invented a machine that was going to go out and just buy pennies, and it separated the pre-82s and well, we said the pre-1981s. But anyway, it was going to separate the pennies based on copper content so that you could automatically, you know, do it with a machine. And he was going to start melting them down, but I think the government shut him down because he was going to take so many pennies out of circulation. Anybody here remember 1982 when they changed the pennies because of copper? I remember when I was in grade school in 81, they had us all bring our pennies in to do our part for America and open up bank accounts for like $1 or $2 with our pennies just to push the pennies back into the bank. And people were taking buckets of pennies down to the junkyard and having them smelted. That tells you something about the value of the dollar or even the penny. Let's go ahead and take the next question. Looks like it's Smokey the Bear 912. And again, if you don't have a mic, go ahead and...
All right, hope everyone can hear me. With the unprecedented weakening of fiat currencies we're currently seeing worldwide, which is leading to bubbles in both equities and the government bond market, what kind of time frame do you think we have before their whole derivatives Ponzi just evaporates? You know, and it goes back to this, I don't know, Stone Age, and they have to reset everything.
That's like asking me, when will, you know, the sun explode into a giant ball of hydrogen and expand out past Earth's orbit? The answer is someday, and we know that for a fact that we're going to deal with that. But I think that a lot of times people that like selling gold and silver oversimplify this point that it eventually has to happen. There are so many things at play in the global economic space that we can have entire countries fold in on themselves and collapse, and we can have other countries bring their fiat currency in and prop them back up. Anybody see where that happened recently? You want to give me the nation that it happened to and the nation that did it? Greece, and who propped them up with their fiat money? Now, Germany tried to do it, and now somebody's come in the last couple of days to no, No, not Iceland, not China. There it is. China, the Chinese foreign minister, is a big picture of him clapping with a member of the Greece government, saying that China has decided they will not let Greece fail. They'll come in and they'll buy as many Grecian bonds as they have to make sure that Greece is going to stay, because it's important that China do its part as a world citizen to help out Greece. Anybody buying that one? You know? What they're doing is, you got to think about what China's doing. China's just going in where everybody fails, and they're buying them up. They're taking out mortgages. They're becoming the lender so that they can exert control politically and economically in the future. What we need to understand about this money game is that's what it is. It is a game. It's not just a Ponzi scheme. It's a giant real-world version of Monopoly. And the game isn't to devalue all the currencies. It's to devalue most of the currencies, so that we can consolidate into 2 or 3, new global currencies that actually have control over the situation. And anybody that thinks that it's all preordained and it's all part of the New World Order and they already know exactly when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, again, you're oversimplifying. People have... China doesn't want to be controlled by the rest of the world. The United States people don't want to be controlled by the rest of the world. Everybody's fighting this battle. It's a lot like people try to simplify it down to, anybody ever watch World Wrestling Federation, WWF? I think you call it something different now. It's how old I am, right? When there was Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff and all those guys, and they had all this wrestling match, and they tried to make it look as great as they could, but it was completely set up and completely choreographed. The way the world is controlled isn't controlled to that level. It's controlled a lot more like boxing. Anybody ever ask the question why we don't have a 500-pound heavyweight champion of the world in boxing? Because the way boxing is controlled is we control who's allowed to box. But when the two guys get into the ring, they're really beating the hell out of each other, and each side's trying to win. The way the global economic system is controlled is a lot more like that. So I don't know when it's all going to collapse. All I can tell you is that don't bet on collapse to where you're putting everything in one component, one pocket, and saying, when it all collapses, I'm going to make out like a bandit because I'm sitting on silver and gold. Solidify your life in a multi-pronged attack. Take the time to do it right. Just like our moderator said, it doesn't happen overnight. Yeah, Rowdy Piper, remember him. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen You're not going to get this all done. Even if you have money, you're not going to get it all done overnight. Very slowly build up a way to protect yourself from your 5 primary needs. Make sure you can feed yourself, put water in yourself, keep yourself sheltered, provide yourself energy, and provide yourself security. You take care of that, and everything else that you do is, I can't just say, oh, we'll know when, the moon lines up with the summer. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. It never will be. Let's go ahead and take a question from RBA46. I'll either take you by chat or by mic. My mic is off now. Okay, I got you there in the chat room. Sorry, no mic. I missed out on most of your original talk tonight, working late. What do you think about Peter Schiff's idea, in addition to a gold investment, to invest in Chinese stocks with a focus on non-export companies over there? Would you put this in terms of investments compared to gold? Long-time listener, by the way. Well, thanks for being a long-time listener. I will tell you that I do own some stocks that are exactly like that. Stocks on Chinese companies that focus primarily on doing business domestically. Don't ask me for ticker symbols or anything like that, because I do not give financial advice the way that people like that do, because what you choose to do with your money is your choice. I do think it's a sound investment. I do think it makes a lot of sense to invest in a growing economy with over 1.5 billion people, where most of those people are still living like third world people trying to move into the first world. We can't have there, but don't put half of your portfolio into that. Maybe percent. It's another arrow. I'm big right now. Most of the money that I'm seeing today, if I get new money and I can do anything I want with it, it's going into my property, it's going into my home, it's going into my energy. A little bit can go out into some investments, but I'm more concerned with making sure that I can produce my own energy long term. I'm more concerned right now when I can produce my own energy long term, my own food long term. that my house is going to be owned outright and no one can ever come take it away from me. A big part, guys, it kind of leads into other things, but when I looked for rural property, I looked for property that was so far away from any main road that I would never have to worry about eminent domain for an easement or something like that. Not just because I wanted to be away from people. And you bet property tax there in the chat room. My property taxes, folks, they're not going to take it away from my property. I can pay my property taxes for the next 10 years on a month's income. Property taxes in Arkansas with 5 acres of land and a 3-bedroom house, because I live out of the city, out of the town, in unincorporated land, $316 a year. A year. So if they would let me prepay the next 10 years, I guarantee they wouldn't go up. I'd do that right now. I don't have them there. See, people, I can see some of the comments in the chat room. Some folks, you're getting a defeatist attitude. You have to start living with power. You have to start living with my property. You're going to have to take my property over my dead freaking body. All right? I will keep my land. If I have to work a little bit harder financially to keep it, I'll take it. I'll do the work. But if you're going to come up with some kind of scheme to get my property from me, I'm sorry. No way, no how, no chance. There is a line that shall not be crossed. And we have to start living with power. We can't have, I'm not going to have a house because somebody might take it away. I'm not going to do this because somebody, this is not really ownership because I have to pay a tax on it. You know what? We live in a society with certain laws and rules. Some of them we're behind. Some of them we'd like to change. But we have what we have for now. We have to look at what we have today, grab it by the throat, choke the crap out of it, and make it the best that we can. And before we worry about somebody, I'll tell you this, come try to take it. And we have to live with that attitude. It's amazing what happens when we start living with that attitude. Let's go ahead and take the next question. I'm going to take this question from Alex, who is my best buddy, I guess. Alex, go ahead, and if you don't have a mic, I'll take you in the chat room.